Welcome, everybody. I'm Blockchain Crusader, who's saying these blockchains every single day. And we got another Monday show here with our boy, CVO Crypto, the legend, the myth, the man. What's going on, my dude?
Crusader, the markets are pumping. What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm trying to get into a long, bro. I'm trying to get into a long here, but I think I might have missed my entry point. But we're going to be covering all kinds of things like that today. Entire market analysis of what Bitcoin is doing or what their crypto market is going, because we got some good pumpage happening today. We got markets up 20%, give or take. Let me share my screen here real quick, and you guys get to see all these green bubbles that we have not seen in quite a while. Let me tell you, quite a while. So here we are. We got 20% on 28% on ICP, 25% on Aave, 34% on Stacks, 14% on Beam, 16% for ADA. They say ADA doesn't move. 22% on OM Mantra. Floki's up 9%. VeChain up 34% today, back above 3 cents. Hasn't been there in quite a while. Fully green throughout the entire Maker up 26%. Just a lot of greenage all around the markets. Phantom 11%. I mean, just a lot of things are pumping right now. Even XRP is pumping. You know, we might be heading into a rally if XRP is moving, bro, because this thing has been dead in the water for the longest. But the markets are moving. Bitcoin is finally breaking out here. We are back above 62,000. We hit what, close to 63 earlier throughout the night. So it's good, right? Very good sentiment in the market to have a little bit of retracement. We all know what happened over the weekend, which has sparked some interest in the markets. Let me tell you, there's been a lot of different sparks going out throughout the weekend, but nonetheless, the markets are getting excited here. So today we're going to be covering obviously Bitcoin, the entire analysis, potential targets to the upside, potential targets to the downside, where we think things are happening, and just overall some altcoins as well. So make sure you're dropping those into the chat down below. But how are you feeling about the markets right now, CVO, with all this green? I know you've been expecting a little bit of green for a while, calling for some price targets up here. So I'll let you get to it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to get these last second messages out there. You caught me off guard, sir. You got too quick.
Gotta be quick
on the run. But yeah, like last week when we did this same stream that we do, that we just kind of started. The outlook was we were trading at 55,000 on last Monday, right? Yep. And we were looking for the move to 62,800, which obviously we got that pretty much this morning, and we're chilling right there right now. And yeah, obviously there's been news, there's been all kinds of things that have obviously like lined up with it. I'm not a huge news person in the sense of correlating that into my like trading strategy or analysis, but obviously, like I said, I'm not ignorant to the fact that news does always correlate with the major moves. Like, a PPI or a CPI data comes out, generally, that's when you get a move in the market, right? Where it's like, at 8:30 in the morning or whatever the case is. The issue that happened over the weekend, right? Like there was some, movement over crypto. The stock market was obviously closed. So I think everybody's waiting with bated breath right now for
it's gonna be an interesting open.
Dude, yeah, that's why I was like, let's go at 9, make sure like we're kind of on beforehand. We can take a look at some stocks today too. But yeah, overall, we're heading up right now. But if I'm honest, I'm actually looking for, I'm paying really close attention to where we are right now, because overall, I still actually look to the price action rolling over. And so far it's playing out to where, like as I've been monitoring it, I guess. Like I'm not trying to say I'm predicting it or I'm, whatever, but just taking it as it comes, right? The new data comes in and we're rolling with it. So I'm excited to take a look at the charts here in a second. And
we got this. This is going to be the perfect cast of kind of this show here. There is, where is it? Where'd it go? So there's this tweet out here. I saw you kind of reply on it in social media, but from Joshua Jake says 146K Bitcoin. The bears promised me, and I saw you had a reply to this tweet here. So we're going to be covering that right now. What you just said, right? We're moving back up above 60. People are getting extremely bullish once again, saying that could have been the potential bottom, but there are some potential levels to the downside here that people want to quickly forget about or kind of just ignore that could still be in play. I also made a video last week or maybe 2 days ago at this point now, talking about Genesis, the lender broker that went bust last bull market. They got the green light in May to start selling Bitcoin, and they're still holding $2.2 billion worth of Bitcoin, and they have to liquidate that to pay off the bankruptcy. There is no other way around it. They're still holding 2.2 billion. We know Germany just finished selling off their 3.3 billion, which was that the reason why it dumped or not? We don't know, but it is a good amount of selling pressure. So another 2.2 billion could be coming onto the markets. That could potentially push us down to some lower price action once again. We've already retested 54, 53, 58 a few times. Could we drop right through and like melt like butter, right? Nobody knows, but there are different. There are definitely levels that we need to keep an eye on. I can't just say, yeah, absolutely not. Just skyrocket to the upside. 60,000 is back, baby. It's full send to 100K because that's not the most realistic truth. There's more. There's always two sides to that story. So, are you ready to start sharing some charts?
Yeah, I'm having an audio issue on the TikTok live over here. Do you know
You're not getting audio in.
yeah, from my side, like from me on my TikTok, I guess.
Like your audio is now feeding into it. They can't hear you.
Right.
If you go into audio mixer
Oh, mixer. Okay, I was just in the
the audio
settings.
mixer, you should see the primary mic and
Got it. Yep.
there you go.
Perfect. Do.
Just a little waiting music. The charts are coming, guys. Smash those likes.
All right, let's do
All right,
test. All right, now I'm good. We're chilling. All right.
let's get
I
it.
can hear you. Now you can. All right, let's do it, baby. All right, let's get to the charts, folks. Turn off this. First day over here, peeps. First day.
It's difficult running so many streams on so many different platforms. They all have different settings, different things. It's just a bunch of inputs and outputs to keep track of.
Right.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a pain. But dude, I'm surprised we're getting a decent amount of green here. We got, I don't know what this mogul is. MOG is up 135% on the month. But mogul? I'm very surprised on how green the markets are getting here. Overall, on the week, things are up massive double digits. Here we go.
Interesting. Yeah. So, all right. So Bitcoin, just kind of take a look here first. And like I said, what time is it? It's like 9:10. So you got 20 minutes for the stock market opens. And the reason I'm like really interested on the stock market is because when we ended last week, we had a couple of pretty big patterns kind of completing or coming into some potential completion zones for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, both on the same exact day. So with Bitcoin kind of coming into some key levels as well, it's just interesting to note, right? So there's a little correlation there. Usually, or recently, there's not been as much, or people probably don't view it as that actually, because you got the S&P and the NASDAQ making all-time highs and Bitcoin is not. But let's just get into the brass tacks here, right? So yeah, overall Bitcoin, high level here. You got huge range, that we've been just kind of.
First, let's start off with, where did we leave off last week? Last Monday when we did the show, where did we leave off and where are we at now? So that people that didn't see last week or maybe might not remember can get a recap here real quick before heading into today.
Yeah. So yeah, last week. So the whole point that, Crusader and I kind of wanted to come on and do these streams is that, a little bit of like, he was asking me if he could, jump in on one of my like just settings or setups, I guess, like before the market stops. And I was like, or before the market opens. And I was like, dude, why don't we just stream it? Just kind of give like an outlook for the market on both of our, outputs and stuff. And then just kind of just spitball back and forth and go from there while the market's open, do it live. And, we started off last week and, for me, it's all about getting a strategy ready for the coming days and weeks ahead. And then obviously at the same time, being aware of the higher time frame. So when we started off on Monday last week, price action was right around here. During the stream, it was actually like, not even getting this little breakdown. I just kind of chopped it up here. But at the time, we had this level right here, which is still actually a new key level for us. But we were trading at 57K and we were looking for a move back down to the weekly open, right? You had basically a local gold pocket, right? So for anybody that missed the, missed this little move up at the time, it was kind of coming in all right here, right? We had a local gold pocket. We had the VWAP coming in here at the time as well. All kind of things that kind of lining up in this little region here, back down to like 55.8. I don't know why it's like there, but anyways, we were looking at 55.8. Oh yeah, as a new potential entry if you missed that rally, right? Miguel had said he woke up, he saw the move was underway, and he was like, "Dang, I missed the move." And generally at New York Open when the globally recognized New York session, not just 9:30 when the stock market opening bell happens, like at 8 a.m. Eastern is when the globally recognized New York session begins, right? So that's why a lot of time at 8:30 when all those news things come out, you'll get all these quick moves. You kind of got to be ready before 8 a.m. Anyways, we were looking for a move to the weekly open, right? And then the target after that was essentially the naked point of control from the previous week and this untapped daily level. And then overall, I actually was looking for, a move back up to like 64 to 65K. But this region right here was the area. And if you were getting in a trade, you're not looking to take the exact lows and the exact highs. The meat and potatoes is definitely where you want to kind of come in for. So this would have been, the area that we wanted to see for the trade. And then we look for the next move, right? Either we flip this area as, support and we look for a new long, or you look for the short up here. And then obviously we are coming into this area now, right? So it took a little longer than, and when I say expected, it's not like I can tell exactly when the market's going to do something, but in general, like I was just looking for this, move, into like Friday-ish, right? So we got it on Sunday, I guess Monday. So we opened up just here this morning. We, came into this region over the weekend, and that's where we're at, right? So now it's like, all right, what's next, right? It's cool. Like that move's done, over with. When you kind of zoom out, unless you want to add anything here, Miguel, before I continue.
No, go ahead.
All right. I was hoping you had something to add. I had to get a quick swig.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, now it's like, what's next, right? As Miguel stated, like everyone's getting kind of excited. I posted that post on Josh Jake's, and by the way, Josh and I are, I got nothing negative on, to that. That wasn't a negative post by any means. I was just posting the idea that
it was a friendly reply.
Yeah. So
potential things that could be happening. Joshua Jake's a great content creator.
Well, and it's just to state that it's still on the table, right? And it's just like my big thing is like just trying to stay level-headed, right? And after you see a move like this, it's the news was kind of scary into this, and honestly, the news isn't amazing right now. So it's kind of like everybody's like, once again, they're waited with bated breath on the idea of like what is going to happen next, right? So from this, the plan for me at the moment is pretty simple, right? And once again, I'm not like blindly going to be shorting this area, but that's the next area you want to look to for the next decent short, right? So if we're going to be looking at this in the sense of like the coming week here, my main outlook here is to see a move up into this region here, and there's reason behind this. This isn't just because like, oh, I want this to happen or whatever, but this is going to be the most ideal move at this point, right? And we've got the average of price for July. So this is like just like moving averages, the 50-day, the 200-day, all these things. You have time price that is like basically an average of it, and they don't move, right? So this is an area where the chart is likely to return to. And generally you have a specific time frame, not that they always get hit, but for July, ours was the average of June, and that is 64,317-ish. And that's a likely area for us to come back to this month. So once again, when you're trading all the way down here, seems like it'll never happen. Today, it seems like it's not that big of a deal. But when you're kind of outlining these things, like this is what you want to be aware of. And then when you come into them, now you got to be able to once again readjust, take a new look at the market, and just kind of see what's going on. So for me, the fact that we have these highs right here, the fact that many people entered the market very short when we broke 58K, last week or 2 weeks ago, got a little bit of profit, and probably didn't have a target area. Well, I know where they were targeting. Actually, everybody's targeting 52K, right? So we'll kind of zoom it out there, right? Everybody's targeting that 52K region. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have a different outlook on that, you just look at this as like, oh, a little front run, and then you're back in the range and whatever. If you were following up with some of my videos over the last several months here, right? We were looking for the all-time high shark, right? The harmonic pattern basically at the high there that had a target down to the 113 expansion, which was 54K. So that came in, and this was definitely an area that we were going to see a bounce from, right? So for me, from this pattern here that played out over a few months, we came down, you front ran this on everybody, you got everybody short in the market. And I say everybody, it's just you got a bunch of new shorts, right? Not necessarily like every single person is just out there like selling everything, but you got some fuel in the market because people did come in short, late shorters,
Yeah,
right?
people like to short when the market's already dumping, and people like to go long when the market's already pumping, and that's how you get all these massive liquidations, because your entry point is not the ideal place to be longing or shorting.
Right. And yeah, so now we had a key region, right? Boom, 20% or more, or whatever that pullback was. Mind you, targeted this at 71,400 in the heat of the most exciting news, right? ETF frenzy. You had Ethereum's ETF, getting ready to get launched, all this kind of stuff. And then a slow bleed, right? Every dip, everyone's just buy the dip, bottom of the range, even. Could we run this back? For sure, right? And it really does come down to this little zone right here that we're highlighting, right? So in the short term, we've come down, hit a major target. We've gotten our bounce. Where's that target going back to? Probably the 0.5, right? So we'll zoom this in here in a second and kind of show some correlation. And as we can see, that's right on that average of price for July, right above this high right here. So I highlight that high because, like I said, anyone that entered those late shorts, are probably going to get liquidated. Anybody that's moved their stop loss down as they did enter, a lot higher, they'd get, stopped out of their short right here, which is the proper way to, go. Like, the risk management is definitely that way because, like I said, this is also the area that if we do flip it, we'll probably see 69K again. But at the moment, I'm looking for this, right? Basically, short and sweep. This run up to like 64, 65K, sweep these highs. And if we come back down and close back below 64, 317, basically, I'm looking for a sizable move to the downside. In the short, this is the outlook I'm looking at right here. This would actually be a potential another harmonic play that has a target of the B point right here. We've got this week's average. So once again, talking in averages. Just like we have a monthly one right here, there's the weekly one. So this is the average of last week, likely to be met this week. And if anybody's looking at the CME chart, that's also where we complete the CME gap, right? So there's a gap in the CME chart, if I'm not mistaken.
Everybody's been talking about the CME gap.
Yeah, so I'm sure though, and I'm once again not sure, but if we do come down to this is a very technical target for this week as it is, and then you get just stacked confluences, right? So but I think we'd see the push up first, right? So you'd see that push up, get this move right here. If you close back below, probably a quick move back to here. Everybody thinks the CME gap is filled, and then you move on. Whereas personally, I'm looking at this as, once again, not married to this, but this is just the trading strategy I've been going with for the last few weeks here. And, this is definitely an area where we have the potential to catch a sizable move, right? So like if this is an area where we get the rejection from, I would imagine that this actually resolves this range to the downside. And one of the key things that I've been looking, the reason I even posted the, 35 to 43K still on the table is a very simple outlook, right? And when we're looking at just range data, so you're looking at the fixed range volume profile tool, and we're looking at the first quarter of this year, we are chilling in this range and have been for some time, and we're making our way down. And the longer that you're in this, or as long as you're in this range, the likelihood of us seeking out the point of control is very high. So that sits down here about 43K, and that's like just no bias, no news, no whatever. Like that's just the data that I'm looking at right now, right? So am I willing to adapt to new information and change that and see if we get a move back up? Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like the overall idea here is that weeks to months from now, we're going to see 43K. In the days to weeks here, we're going to probably push up a bit and potentially even back up to 69K. I'm looking for moves, each and every day, each and every week, with the overall idea that we might see a lot lower for those like mid to long term plays, where if you're going to come in and actually scoop up, altcoins for a decent amount of time, picking up alts at $71,000 Bitcoin was probably a little more riskier than it's going to be if we pull all the way back down to these levels here, where there are key levels for Bitcoin, there's key levels for Ethereum, and the alts as well, right? So what do you got for us, Miguel?
Okay, so let me ask you a follow-up question, right? So that's the longer term stuff. Last week we were looking at some short term, and right when the show ended, the short, right, the ideal short of the day happened. What are you looking for today as potential trade setup that you would be interested in for just today alone? Just for the people out there. I know people are interested in the altcoins. We'll get to that in a little bit, but if you know where Bitcoin's going, you can kind of know where the altcoins are going to be headed. So it's very important to always know where Bitcoin's going. So guys, be patient. We'll get to the altcoins.
Yeah, and like I said, so like the altcoins are obviously where everybody's more interested in.
Yeah.
There's definitely more, ROI there that to be had. But yeah, like I'm really hitting hard on Bitcoin right now because if it's really just a determining time frame here, where if we're going to see the break to the upside or if we're going to see a break to the downside, because that will dictate the entire market. So yeah, as far as a short term play, like for today, we're already up pretty sizably here. You might get a pull back down to like the weekly open, and then see a little kind of range around here. But as far as like what I'm looking for literally today, it probably would be that push up. I would imagine maybe if the stock market opens up, I know like the Donald J. Trump not token, but the DJT stock, everybody's got their eyes on that. And
There's
just
a
in general,
DJT stock.
yeah, the Donald Trump media, I think, or something like that.
I
I
didn't
guess he
know that.
hasn't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it, but I do know that I've just seen everybody kind of talking about that today. So, but yeah, I'd be looking for the move up into this region and then seeing how that's going to play out. But looking for a short, honestly, around these levels, and whether or not it's the the huge short that could come into it, but either that or just the move back down into like fill the CME gap, right? Like a simple play like that, I would say is what I'd be looking for.
You think
today.
we'll fill that CME gap sometime this week, right? Because I see a lot of weekly averages, week targets.
What's that?
That this will be like within a week or so target area going up there and coming down to about the weekly average of 58 within the next week or so.
Yeah, I mean it's not perfect, but I mean that's like
give or take
that's
a few
the
days.
that's the idea at hand. It could be all week before we see that, something like that.
It's interesting you bring that up because I'm going to bring this up, right? The whole thing of July is a green month. Usually, historically, when June is a red month, we were deep in the red. We were like over 10% into the red, right? In July. Now we're only negative 0.35%. So could potentially lead up there, close out the month of July, could still close out green. I mean, we still got 15 days left for this month. Historically, if you guys are seeing this chart here, every month of June that has been red has been followed by a green month of July. There's never been a red June and a red July. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I'm trying to see if this historical data does play out, and especially as we started coming back up now, we're getting close to that break even green point for July. Even if we do have that pullback back to that weekly average of 58,000, we climbed up here real quick, right? We can climb up from 58,000 to a monthly green in a couple of weeks or a couple of days if Bitcoin really wants to move it. So I'm keeping an eye on that piece of data just to see if the historical data plays out. But I saw you were pulling up ETH. What's going on over there with Ethereum?
Yeah, so ETH last week's similar situation, right? We were looking for let's just see, last Monday we were probably around here, give or take. On the stream, I don't know if we covered ETH or not, like, as in the same sense, but, I was looking for this little area down here. I think we did, because I think people were like saying this could be a double bottom, which I was definitely like, yeah, it could be. And, the idea here is that we get the move up to this region up here, right? This like 3,400 and change. We're close to it. We didn't actually, make it into this area that like the same, like basically Bitcoin and ETH had a very similar percentage gap to some key levels. So if Bitcoin does push up to those areas I was just looking at, like what was like 64, 65K, I imagine ETH is going to push up into this $34, $35 $3,500 area. But similar deal here, right? Like last week, as we came into these low areas, people are scared, people are looking for lower. You kind of have to almost look for, a move up. Now we're walking into this week. We've had a huge move up. If you're not in anything, or just wanting to look to like what the next move could be, it's time to look for a move back down, right? So that's just the unfortunate part, right? It's always on the, the seesaw. That's why like most people just get chopped out, right? Because they're, like you said, scared here, not buying, excited here, everybody starts buying. You see a little bit of green potentially, but overall, might see a move back down. And this is the thing, right? Like I don't know which way the market's going to go, but if you're going to be managing risk along the way, you want to just find and note like key places, and then just you have to wait for them. It's a big game of patience. This whole like move right here, even though it was a great move, 15% actually is an amazing move. It took all week to kind of get there. And then, this could very well just unwind and come all the way back. We got key levels all, kind of stacked back below us once again. And so similar situation is that I'm looking for a push up into these regions here. If we look at we got new weekly data, right? So when looking at our new previous week range, right, we've got our volume profile here. We've got a naked point of control, which is the volume target. We've opened outside of the range as well. So generally, not that you can really trade off that right this moment, but if you actually do come back down, you make it into the range, it's very likely to rotate this range, right? So it's just something to be aware of. It's kind of far away at the moment, but yeah, for me, more I'm looking for probably another little push up into like 34, 3,500, and then see if we actually get a little pullback back probably down to this like $3,000 mark once again in the short term, right? So like, let's see this.
Is that what you got? Something else for Ethereum?
No, sorry, I was getting some alert on here.
Oh, no worries. So I want to show my screen here. We had a very eventful weekend here. So I think I saw you post some TA on our boy DJT, the original meme coin here on Ethereum. It had a nice little pump all the way up to $10.40 on Saturday, on July 13th, after the eventful Saturday took place. Since then, it's had a little bit of a pullback here. Do you have anything prepared, or do you want to cover this at all? I know all the meme coin degens out there are probably a little interested in what's going on here. Is this thing going to break towards new all-time highs? Or are we going to sink down below?
Yeah, I got I'll have to take another look like at this, but yeah, like in general, when this was pushing up into like 15, 16, whatever, pretty much the all-time highs, many were looking at, this specifically right back here. You can almost just kind of pattern that out, right? A little bull pennant, or however you want to look at it. For me, it was one of those times where, like, once again, could this have broken up? Yes, right? We don't know at the time. But if you're looking for ideal, I always call it fresh entries, right? If you're looking for an area for like a fresh entry, lower risk, there's never zero risk, obviously, right? We're investing and speculating, especially in something like this. There's never going to be no risk. But I was looking for, I was only going to get interested in this if it came back down to 457, and posted that in the Discord several weeks ago. Like I said, this was probably in June. All right. So about a month ago. Feels like it's been forever. And, that's where we did end up coming down a couple days back, or on the 4th of July dump, right, for Bitcoin. That's when we saw this on Trump coin as well, right? So got the bounce here. Then I was looking for basically just a simple move back up to and this arrow was, posted there days before. But we were looking for basically just a range rotation back to the high and the monthly average up here that was untapped. And that's essentially what we did. Like you said, there was news correlated, right? So once again, I was prepared for this move well in advance, because there's no chance you were going to be able to get in on this at the moment news breaks, right? But lo and behold, time frame wise, news did break, right? So, but yeah, it's also interesting just to note how like technical analysis can work, because you would imagine that we'd get this huge pump and it just wouldn't stop. Like, why did it stop where it stopped? Well, because it was technical targets, right? So, that's kind of just an interesting thing that's a
very interesting thing about TA, especially when people say, "Oh, it doesn't work," whatever. It's all news. It's like, well, that's a perfect rebuttal to that. It's like, well, if it's all news based and it was this great, amazing moment, why did the fun stop, right? Why did it start to instantly go back down? And it's because technical targets are sitting there on the chart. People they want to believe what they want to believe, man.
Right. Just 1 second here.
What's going on, Jamie? I see you saying good morning, Crusader. What's going on? I hope all you guys are smashing those likes, smashing that subscribe. Whether you're watching on CVO or you're watching on here, make sure you guys are putting in that effort to really support us and smash those likes and subscribe if you haven't already. So we're going to be covering some other altcoins here. What other altcoins you got in mind, or you want me to just throw a few fresh ones at you?
Yeah, we can just look at whatever. So.
Yeah, let's definitely I would definitely want to take a look at Ondo. Ondo's been an interesting one that's just kind of been going sideways a little bit, but it's definitely one that's been doing something. And another one would be Maker. I want to see if we can take a look at Maker today. There was some very bullish news about them tokenizing their treasury and getting into real world assets with the Buildo fund asset that's working alongside with Ondo. So there's kind of like an indirect connection there, all back to BlackRock. So Banker has been having a nice little week, up 26% this week alone. and Ondo's been trying to fight back over $1.
Yeah. Yeah, we take a
Yeah, I
look at
got that gold
Ondo.
pocket up at 126. Yeah, I've been looking at that.
Yep. Yeah, so like we're in an old range. For me, once again, like the idea for like any, and I always bring these up, right? Because it's like, I'm not invested in every single one of these projects by any means. There's like 2.5 million coins. Ondo is one that I'm, actively in and out of, or been in and out of so far on the little moves up, just because once again, I didn't have an ideal like long-term entry. Maybe this does become it, like $1, but I'm still looking back towards like 75 cents or lower. And does that come? It doesn't have to. But yeah, like in the short, grand scheme here, you've got a simple, fib retrace. Your high side of your range is just above us. So once again, similar to like that Bitcoin outlook, right? You're in a range. Potentially, you could come back and back test this high, similar to any other type of pattern out there, right? If you get that breakout and you get the retest of the neckline or the retest of the, trend line support, it's very similar here in the range data, right? So you come into the range, you get a back test, right? So if you miss the breakdown, once again, late people are coming into the party, whether they're selling, their spot bag and waiting for lower, or they're people coming in with the ability to short. If you can short this, which I believe you can on certain exchanges, when in reality, you just, you can look for that move back up, so if you ended up selling down here, it definitely would have been a better area to look to, sell some in this region if you were worried it was going to go lower. But once again, took time. Now most people are going to look at this and point out the inverse head and shoulders here, right? So let's just take a look at that. And what that is, right, is this little pattern right there where you got a little shoulder, a head, right, a little shoulder. We'll just kind of slap that on there. And if you're going to measure something along these lines, you go from the top, super classic. And then that takes us back to our little gold pocket box that you were just talking about, right, 126. So yeah, if you claim, 108, 109, really start living above here, 4-hour daily, closures and daily candles, then yeah, I'd say we probably get another jaunt back up to like 126, and then just kind of reevaluate there. Otherwise, I'm looking for, like I said, the move back down to like 75 cents is kind of where, like, just once again, a fresh entry area. Might not get there, but that's where I'd be looking. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. I think my target was somewhere like 80 something cents. I don't know what range. What range is this?
This is probably like last quarter.
Quarter one range.
Yeah, something like that. It's not much data to go along here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree with that.
And that is the other thing too, right? These are very new projects. So
yeah, I started back in January, so like I was like halfway through January.
Right. So, this could honestly even probably come back a little bit more, because this really wouldn't. So when I say this, is like in my mind, if I'm, saying that there's potential, and once again, not married to anything, but I just got to be prepared for it so that, I don't go all in at, 71K Bitcoin on altcoins or even Bitcoin itself until you really get some like, concrete, basically some confirmations essentially. But for this, if Bitcoin does really take a big pullback to like 44K, 43K, even back down to 50, this isn't really that much of a drop for a smaller project that just came out. So this might not be the end all be all where we come down to, but that would be the next spot I'd look to for, just to pick some up. And if I'm going to DCA into something like that, which, that's the first area I'd look to. And then it's one of those things where it's like alerts are on. I don't have a preset, buy order here, but that's just when we start to come down into there. Once again, see how Bitcoin's doing, see how ETH, the rest of the market looks, the stock market, whatever, and then kind of make some decisions along the way.
That's definitely something that most people don't really pay attention to, is the fact that we could potentially drop a lot lower if Bitcoin drops, right? I've talked about like ICP dropping to like $4 and some change. I talked about Render potentially dropping to $4 and some change. And it sounds crazy, but it's like a 20 to 30%, maybe close to 35% drop from where some of them have been in the last couple of weeks. If Bitcoin drops another 25% to the low 50s, potentially even to the high 40s, a 20 to 30% pullback for an altcoin is nothing. It's just another regular Tuesday here in the crypto markets, but people are not ready to see something like that. Something I haven't been ready to see is Arrow is up 40% this week. Arrow dropped down into like, I believe, the low 50s and has had a massive recovery back to 81. You guys don't know what Aerodrome is. Aerodrome is the biggest DeFi platform play for the Base network, which is connected to Coinbase. Everything else is pretty much meme coins at this point, but Aerodrome is like one of the only legitimate non-meme coin projects that actually has utility that's being built on base. With a current market cap of $420 million, this thing hit close to about a $2.20, give or take, at the last rally that we had during March. We had a massive retracement since then with these pullbacks. We came all the way down into the 50s, which is my initial entry point, which is wild. And now we're up 40% on the week. 40%. Yeah, just we came all the way down to 54 cents last week, and we're up all the way to 81 cents right now on Aerodrome. What do you got for that?
For Aerodrome?
Yeah, for Aerodrome. Some targets.
Yeah.
Nice clean chart, baby. That's what I like.
One. So when you look at something like Ondo, by the way, like this is something that can very well happen, right? So that's like why, even when you like Aero had a really nice start here, right? And this had a really good up and to the right only, not really had, didn't really have too much retracement, but yeah, just a
because it came out right at like peak FOMO for the rally. It was like early January, February, March time, all the way up to the peak of March, where all the altcoins were having a massive rally.
All right. So what were you looking at?
Just Arrow's pumped 40% in the last week, came all the way down to about like 50 to 40 something cents. If you see that peak all the way down there, just some interesting targets, potential to the upside. I'm very bullish on Aerodrome long term, right? Long term being the biggest DeFi play on Coinbase, I think is definitely going to have room to run back up. But potential targets to the upside, potential targets to the downside, especially if Bitcoin has another pullback, right? Well, how low can we go?
Right. For pullback wise, that would probably be drastic. If Bitcoin hits those like this, those smaller, I'm assuming this is probably like a smaller coin too. Could be wrong. Oh, this is a Coinbase one. All right. So it still could be.
It's the DeFi play for Coinbase's network.
Got it. But yeah, overall, got a nice little quarterly range here. So once again, not much data here. So it's kind of hard to go off of as far as, a little bit more reliability would go. Like when looking at something like Bitcoin or ETH with, decade plus of information. But yeah, on a local play, just from this swing high to low, coming into gold pocket just above. So, that's definitely something I'd be looking at, which is like almost $1. So where that is from where we are now is an even more, an additional 20% move. But how we are moving right now would be something to look to like this, right? Where if you, are trying to just come into this right now, definitely are at a discount. But the key level, would be a look for a pullback back to like 66 cents. If you're going to look to like kind of get in for this for a move to the upside, let's just see where the local gold pocket sits. It's actually all the way back down here, but you have the 382 sitting right here. So generally after from a strong move, you'll get the pullback to 382 for continuation. No guarantee, but just a little stacked confluence right at that the range low essentially. We got the naked point of control sitting right here, right at the middle of the range. So I would say that that's a likely target to be met, whether either we'd shoot up from there now or get a little pullback first. But that $1.10 is probably where I'd look to. You got an untapped high time frame average price up here at about 123. So in this little realm here would be where I'd kind of look to in the short term and potentially just kind of range around in here. And if we get a pullback in Bitcoin, yeah, I just don't think it would, you're talking if Bitcoin pulls back 10, another 20%, you're talking all altcoins are going to see another 40, 50% drop. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles there. But yeah, that's how I'd be looking for it. So short term could get this move up here, cautious about it because once again, you got to kind of see how Bitcoin's going to react around these areas we're at. Otherwise, and this is a key thing too for me is that, we could go through all the altcoins and kind of identify some key regions. You had mentioned Render. I know we've talked about it multiple times, so I won't get too much into it because I'm sure people want to see other projects as well. But like the Render token, and you said another one that could go to $4, ICP.
Yeah, ICP.
So let's just look at that one real quick.
ICP's had a very nice rally as well today, up 20, or on the week at least, it's up like 20 something percent.
Right. And
yeah, 29% of the week.
Are we looking at $4? Yeah. So yeah, like, you know, in theory, if this was something to like roll back over and come into these levels, you just be re-entering back into this little range zone over here. Same deal, right? If you see that, like if we come back down, lose $6, which at the moment it's hard to believe because that'd be like a, you know, pretty sizable drop even just to that. You know, you could very well just rotate through this range right here. But yeah, ICP in the short term, since we're here, same deal, right? Untapped quarterly average of price here. So 1166 ish could be an area we push up to. And this is one of those times too, where like Bitcoin just pushed up 15% last week. So did ETH, you know, and those moves that we talked about Bitcoin in the beginning of the stream, where it's like, okay, maybe we swing up and then you drop it back down to 50 something thousand this week. That could be 3 days from now if it's going to happen. And you could get 2 or 3 days of stupid moves out of altcoins, right? So not to say they'd go back to all-time highs, but you definitely got some opportunity where you're already at 43% on this. This could very well push up to 75%, and then times like that get everybody really excited to jump back in. And if you have no strategy, or if you got no idea what you're looking for and you're just thinking like, all right, bottom's in for Bitcoin, bull runs back on, everything that happened over the weekend, great. Like, luckily, I know that somebody did end up, obviously not making it, but, the candidate did. And I'm sure that, that'll lead to some positivity in the outlook space of things. And it's just a time where, like, once again, like, everybody will come in and kind of buy into some of the highs when, we had definitely some key areas. And not to go totally on a tangent here, but as we saw that Trump token, we saw this one come down, like all these came into, the key levels for the altcoins as well. The same day that Bitcoin on July 4th hit that $54,000, $53,000 target. I bring that up because it's like, if you have some areas noted out for Bitcoin, you can pretty much scour the entire altcoin market and just like, I look to Bitcoin, and when we hit key levels on Bitcoin, I know to have a plan in place to either buy or offload some altcoins at those exact moments when I don't even got to know or even have key levels mapped out. And it might not be the exact high, might not be the exact low, but if you have some key regions mapped for Bitcoin, that can almost like, give you a roadmap to what the altcoins are going to do in general. You almost don't even have to like look at them. I have a little list of like certain alts that I want to get into that I, Ondo is one of them, that I just didn't catch at like ideal areas. And if Bitcoin does pull back to those regions, it's like I got an immediate like list Rolodex in my head of what I'm going to go and look for. I won't preset for them, but I'll be because you never know, because like we could be looking for a $4 ICP, for example, and it just nukes to $2, because that's just how the market does go.
I got an ICP chart here. I've been looking at ICP kind of closely. There is a gold pocket sitting up at $15.18. We also have the naked point of control for like it's a Q1 and Q2. For all this year, we've been ranging up here between $15 and the value area low being somewhere on the $11. We completely fell out of that, right? And then we entered Q4 range for 2023, which has that naked point of control sitting at 450. We got a little bit of a bounce here on this monthly untapped level or whatever it was. I forgot why I marked this 3-month horizontal here, and then we bounced from there. We've now kind of broken above the value area high for the Q3 range. Is that going to hold? I don't know, right? But if it does, obviously I'm looking for this like $11, $12, potentially all the way up to the gold pocket. See if we get that kind of rally, which is a massive push to the upside. Right, this is all going to be highly dependent on Bitcoin. That's a 70% push to the gold pocket, 70 to 65% rally up there. So Bitcoin would have to be extremely bullish and breaking way higher into the 65s. That's why we harp so much on Bitcoin. I try keeping up with it as much, because if Bitcoin isn't rallying, altcoins aren't going to rally 65% on their own like that. More likely, if Bitcoin starts to just dump even a little bit, that the altcoin will start dumping back into this range and potentially go back to this target of $4.51. But like you said, right, we could just nuke right through it. We don't know what's happening, but there is a lot of key levels here for ICP. It was one that I've been keeping my eye on for quite some time. It's just been very range bound this entire year up here between $11 and $15. So it's going to be interesting to see when it can finally reclaim that range and start moving to the upside.
Do you have somebody's asking about BNB or Sushi? Since I have it up, I can take a look at that real quick, and then I'll take a look at BNB for Mishka. Yeah, so Sushi Swap, just once again, like a chart that I've built out and just traded along in these regions here, And just once again, just you know, I don't know what's going on with sushi as a project or news or anything that's wrapped around it. But just technically speaking, I
Sushi,
had some.
I mean, sushi's just a Dex. I don't think there's any real
Right,
name
right.
on
But I mean,
sushi.
like, you know, it's not like they're just like partnering up with some, like, I don't know, like, there's nothing like being talked
Yeah,
about.
nothing wild happening.
Yeah, negative, at least widely known, right? There's nothing like, oh yeah, did you hear about what, like, you know, BNB sometimes goes through some crazy, you know, news catalyst, but like, yeah, Sushi Swap is just like anything else in the crypto space, which is funny because everybody always likes to dog on like XRP or Litecoin or, you know, some of the other projects that, you know, do nothing or don't do as much or they'll get hit, but like, it's like the whole market is getting hit like all the time. But yeah, sushi waited forever from literally the last quarter till now. This was a, you know, an untapped quarterly level all the way back down at 60 cents. And mind you, we were trading at 212, which front ran my target by just a little bit. But you did a little sweep of this high, right? And just fucking nuked, man, like just all the way back down to the bottom, which is wild to see. But same deal, right? It's one of those times where, you know, at this level, you know, was it smart to buy here? Could it have kept going up? I have definitely got targets above here that, you know, if we do get a you know, a nice breakout on sushi and the market conditions are right, yeah, I do think this can go higher, but this would have not been the area to be looking to buy. You know, the areas to buy would be obviously back in the range. And then obviously you got a nice little area down here. These are the ideal areas, but you have to wait for them if you missed it. And if you're looking at it just then, and here we are, right? So interesting to note. I just pulled this up for random reason, but yeah, got a pretty good push so far. And it's nothing crazy, 19%. And like, you know, if we get a little push up out of Bitcoin, and if Bitcoin and the market kind of holds, like I said, we can see a few days where the alts actually see, you know, some pretty sizable moves up. You know, for this we could get back all the way up to like, you know, a 30% move from where we are now back towards $1, and then maybe even like $1.16. These are some big plays. So once, you know, not looking to, you know, 100% marry that, but we could very well see something like that out of sushi there. BNB was a request, which I haven't looked at in a while. I know BNB was definitely like a huge FTX comparison that everyone was really like honed in on, expecting it to just roll over like FTX did. I guess I'll have to find it here.
It's been holding up pretty strong.
What's that?
BNB's been doing pretty well, even with the dilemma they had with their founder or whatever, CZ and all this stuff. It's still holding up strong.
Yeah, this was yeah, I mean, kind of similar to what that looking at this just quickly, similar to that like play that just looked at on Sushi Swap. Basically came up, made a new all-time high, right? The old sweep, and then just kind of dumped it here. So yeah, that's a tough one at the moment. Just at a quick glance, let's just see something really quick. And yeah, that's not a good sign. All right. Yeah, for the fact that we took that all-time high and came back into this region, you know, coming back into this old range right here. If we, you know, we kind of came back, he bounced out. So once again, these aren't perfect, but just overall, you know, if I was looking for a fresh entry here, so let's make it up nice and fresh. Cut these off. You know, you definitely got a gold pocket area down below. So like, and this is, you know, assuming that we come back in this range. So the first line of defense is this, right? Short term, I imagine we push up to 604 again, right? So that's like what, at least $30 move, 7%, which isn't really that much. So I imagine we play around in these regions here. You've got your all-time high is the key area as far as any more upside. You want to see some dailies start closing back above here for more upside. Otherwise, the fresh areas that I'd look to is going to be down here at like 320 into this like $380 area. Seems like, you know, that's never going to happen or couldn't. But this is like if Bitcoin does take a hit, you know, you'd even just see as a simple support area down here. And then that would be a pretty drastic move, right? Like 40%, which only reason I say that is because if you get that Bitcoin drop, you know, that's where I'd look. So otherwise, just look to see if we flip the all-time high. Probably not the coin I would jump into, you know, at all-time highs. You know, there's just so many other opportunities of things, just with better risk management at that point. But if you're, you know, dying to get into that, then that's how I'd look. Or if you're holding BNB, looking for the confirmation of what's going to take us higher, you know, unfortunately, it's going to be a reclaim of the all-time high at this point, right? Of the previous high, I guess.
I was on mute there. Any other altcoins you got on your chat going on here? I think somebody in my chat, let's see what they said.
Might as well cover XRP.
Everybody wants to know, right? Everybody.
Yeah. Well, honestly, like I hold XRP pretty decently because I ended up selling a lot of my Ethereum from that I accumulated at $1,200, right? I sold off at like 3,300 back in like, I think it was even before March, right? It wasn't the all-time high of 4K or the recent high of 4K, but I had some things that I was like kind of noting, and once again, just looking to kind of scale out, into the highs there. But then we had a couple more weeks of some pretty decent upside, and this is actually a really good example of something where it's like I took the profits I had from ETH, and it's almost 200%. I still have 25% of my allocation to ETH, that just in case the market just rips, I still got skin in the game. I'll hit the next target, whatever. But now I have the dry powder on the side from a 200% move, just about. And I'm able to wait or see if we're going to see some of these pullbacks, right? And if I do get that pullback in Bitcoin, then that's a huge allocation I could re-put into either ETH or some other plays. But I took that, and ETH continued to 4K, right? So instead of me jumping back into Ethereum just because I had to, I dumped that into Dogecoin for like not all of it, but like a good amount of it, just as a short-term play that pumped over 100%. And then I've basically averaged in pretty decently into XRP with a portion of it at 50 cents. Not that that's played out, hella greatly quite yet, but it was just a little bit of a, and so far it's been more of a stable play, because if I had bought back in the Ethereum, ETH at 4K, I'd be down, right? But yeah, so it's something I'm kind of keeping an eye on here. But XRP got a nice little push. This is one that correlates to, once again, the news is going to come out like in correlation with these moves. It just is what it is. I can't explain how it works. Market makers, however you want to view it, doesn't matter, right? Like if you can be prepared for the move ahead of time, like I said, I've been sitting in 50-cent XRP for a long time, basically since here. So almost since September, like in general, I had already an XRP position, and then I just added to it when I cashed out the ETH one. But, I'm at this point, I'm really looking to see 62, maybe back to 75 cents. And then honestly, if we get the push to $1, it's still kind of on the table. Like I'm giving the overall thesis here that if Bitcoin's at like kind of cautious levels, like it's like, is XRP likely to see that push up? Hard to say. But as we come in, if we see a little push up to these regions, I'll probably start, scaling out of my position, stop loss pretty much at break even, just in case we, roll this over. And then I'll look from there. But I did want to point out that XRP is generally the last mover. It's like kind of the joke, right, of the market. So we got a pretty sizable move up, which isn't crazy compared to what actually, that's pretty decent, 45 cents or 45%. Nothing, it's a nothing burger in the grand scheme. But if we do push up pretty decently into these levels, technical, levels above us. So it is what it is. But it's just one of those times where XRP likes to excite the masses, and people will jump, or they really don't jump in, but the people that are already holding just keep holding. But we saw the same thing right here. Huge pump up, which was a super technical, shout out to Magic Internet Money. He, nailed that move, like to the T. I think he cashed out at 96 cents. And
that was back when the news broke that they were winning the lawsuit or something. The lawsuit was almost officially over, or whatever it was.
Yeah,
everybody was like, "That's it, baby. $1,000 is coming." And
exactly. But this is a very technical, like this trades really well. It just doesn't trade, hundreds of percent like everybody wants out the gate. I think at some point, we'll get a sizable move out of this, especially with how much we've been ranging. But short term right now, I'm just looking for like 61, 65, and 75 cents. And if we get a random Hail Mary just out of nowhere SEC spike, right, up to the $1 mark, best believe that's probably where we're about to see a huge dump in the market. I was kidding, but that's usually what we see, right? You get that last huge spike in XRP, and a day or two later, it's like the whole market rolls over. It's
yeah, it definitely has to be one of the signals for like massive altcoin rally, like top signal coming in. I mean, because at the end of realistically, I don't know what news could potentially come out. Obviously, anything can happen. Not denying that, but what better news than the news that I got when they hit 96 cents for it to have a massive rally now? Like, what is there that the XRP community is waiting for at this point? For and move to the upside.
And that's kind of to go back to the technical comment we made earlier, right? Where it was like that news, you couldn't have gotten any better news. Like that's probably the best example, is like you get the best news possible for an asset. And yet, not to say it only pumped this much, but why did it stop? Right? Like, it's just like, why did it stop at 96 cents? Why didn't it just keep going? Right? Like, everybody was piling in. There's no reason. It should have kept going, if you think about it in a sense of news. But that was a tech, like I said, like, I don't even remember what Magic was looking at, but he nailed it, dude. Like, literally went in, small leverage on it, if there was any leverage at all, but like picked up the position at 30 cents or whatever the case was during this huge, like, move, the consolidation right here. And he even had fib time, which was on this day was when the fib time, basically expired. Generally, you get to move slowly into those dates, but we literally just came over and in one day just got it. So that was a pretty cool thing to see. Make sure you guys are following Magic, man. He's killer. Magic Internet Money on TikTok and on like YouTube, Twitter. He's pretty active on Twitter. So
yeah, he's a Twitter.
Twitter dude, Twitter sav.
Let's see what other altcoins we got here. Somebody asked about Caspa. What are people asking about in your chat? What are you seeing over
there? Brett.
Brett. $1 billion Brett, baby.
Brett, baby. I pulled up Brett, I think, on like, or I didn't even add it. I was gonna make a chart. So it's let's see. Well, Brett don't look that bad quite yet. Well, I mean, I say that like in the sense that, usually you'll get this like huge run up and then just give it all back, which it could be on the way to do so. Not much data here, simple, outlook already that you got the quarterly average right there that we're back testing. You might flip this in the short term. I know that most are probably going to look at this so this is Brett, by the way, for anybody that's tuning in. I don't put a little watermark, but there's that. And let's just see.
Dude, we've been leaving a lot of untapped, a lot of naked point of controls on the daily levels here for Bitcoin the last couple of days, the last week or so. We got one around 58,000. We got one around 57.
This would be interesting to see.
Oof.
I mean, I mean, not that that's guaranteed. I'm just looking around and stuff.
Yeah, there's not a lot of data.
There's really nothing here, so it's kind of tough. And obviously, it's always interesting to note this. Actually, like this has been since June. So a couple months there, and this was what, April and May. So 2 months and 2 months, and the majority of transactions occurred here, right? So that's where your point of control, this high volume node, is coming in. So not the greatest look because that is very well where we could return, right? So just throwing that out there. This is a total this is a meme, like, to some degree too. I think it's listed.
It's very hard to do anything meme because you have to go like into very low time frames, like daily time frames. Like the biggest time frame you can go to is like a monthly. It's hard to do any quarterly or multi-month anything because it's just.
But if you do get a move up, I would just be looking at simple. You got 21 cents and like 27 cents. We like the next major leg if we get the move up. But yeah, that's a tough one, especially because even just looking at like simple,
that'd be like multi-billions. That'd be like $2-3 billion, Brett.
Would it? Oh, that'd be like 100% move too.
Yeah,
pretty good. I mean, that could happen though. I mean, like even if it's quick,
anything's possible in these markets, bro.
But yeah, what's another one here we can finish off with? I did want to take a look really quickly. Let's take a peek back at Bitcoin. We're up at 63K. See if we get our little trade. Not quite yet, but living above this little region. So we'll see if we get pushed up in there. ETH, it's chilling too. And then let's just take a peek at the stocks. So once again, not like a perfect, guaranteed thing by any means, but in an overall idea here, there's a pattern here at play that, around this region doesn't have to be exactly this, there's 10% give in this area. But overall, if you like, so this is the thing, right? When I look at Bitcoin, I'm like, all right, we're coming into some cautionary areas. We're at the same place on the S&P. This is SPY, so this is an ETF that measures the S&P 500. It's pretty much just 1 0 less, right? The S&P 500 is probably sitting at 5,600 and 55,620, right? TikTok.
I'm not sure.
Interesting.
What happened?
Detected. I don't know. Something with the TikTok live. 1 second.
Oh, is it?
One
It's
second.
giving you the alert. It was like, hey, you've been on for an hour. You need to like adjust or whatever.
Oh.
You gotta do the little puzzle thing.
Might have just shut me down. All right. It's because I'm copying your screen, so I got a warning.
Really?
Wasn't original. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Can't do anything around these parts. But yeah, so just I'm keeping this in mind because if this does start to break down here, there's some pretty decent areas that this may come back into, which would be like a 10-15% move, right? So you're talking this area would be one area, this is the next, so 14-18%. And the last time we saw that was back here, right? 18-20-ish%, and that was basically all-time high for Bitcoin in 2021 to May, right? And that didn't bode well for crypto. So if you do see something like that, it just kind of aligns with the idea that we might see that pullback in Bitcoin. Same outlook though. You can't marry this. Got to be able to kind of adjust as we do continue up if we do. But it is just interesting to note that that's there, and the same deal here for the Nasdaq. And like I said, both of these pretty much came into these completion zones on the same time on Friday. So we'll see how things kind of go out. I had mentioned on Twitter, I was like, I'm not a big news guy, but when you kind of look at things like this, you kind of almost like it's one of those the show me the chart, tell you the news type of things where it's like, not married to it, but if I had to guess, might see some bad news coming around. So honestly, when I saw everything going on the weekend at first, I was like, oh God, like, and before we found out if everything was, once again, I know that somebody in the crowd did not make it, unfortunately, but when Donnie, I guess, erupted alive still. But yeah, it's just interesting how everything kind of like plays out and kind of leans into each other. But yeah, I think that's about all the time we probably got, huh? I know it's a little after 10 now.
Yeah, it's a little bit after 10 now. We took a little bit to get started. But yeah, man, it's definitely going to be an interesting year to see where things go long term. I know, we're headed into an exciting year for the rest of this year with what's happening in this country. So we'll see where that takes the markets, right? You're talking about an SPY massive pullback happening. What could the news be around that time that could lead us to such a massive collapse, right? Is there going to what could it possibly be? People have a very wild, I don't want to put any speculations out there, but anything could happen that could be the reason that they are going to point at for the massive drop back with the SPY.
It could be even as simple as not even like political or anything. It could be something with Nvidia, right? So like some report comes out that I don't know, some of their chips
for China the whole time.
Some of their chips start exploding or something. Who knows, right? Like it could be anything. It's but those moves, if they do, and it's always a big if and then situation, right? And then everybody hates to hear that, but if I knew which way the market was going to go 1,000%, I probably wouldn't be sitting here discussing it, right? I would just be chilling, like
just hit that long button, baby.
Yeah, but but like just like the situation of the weekend with the Trump meme coin, right? Like that was a move that was prepared for on technicals, and then obviously some news correlated. And if you were to anybody that tried to jump in on that play, like probably jumped in at the high because it moves so fast, and everybody loves a fast move. If it's a fast move down or a fast move up, it's immediate fear or greed. And then generally those get eaten up. Like
I was lucky I got in at $6, but not on this previous dump, not on the most recent dump. Back in if we look at the chart, I forgot where it was. I forgot what day it was. There was another previous dump a few weeks ago that was a massive wick down to like close to $4. It was back on June 18th, 17th time. The Trump meme coin dumped hard down to like $4. I was able to it wicked down there, so I was able to catch it around like $6 is where I made my initial entry point. And I just been holding it on. I've been holding on. I know it's going to be an interesting rest of the year with this guy. So I expect volatility on this thing. So we'll see what happens with it. I mean, Somebody just sold $39,000 worth of it a minute ago. There's definitely some big liquidity in this coin. I mean, if there's if the election goes that way it's supposed to, and this guy wins or whatever, I can definitely see this thing running for $1 billion market cap. I mean, I don't know. It's just not financial advice, guys. Just pure speculation, right? It's just going to be an interesting
That is
presidency
that's definitely one on my Rolodex. Like on the like if we get like just another nuke in the market at some point, that's on there too. Like it's like it's I don't disagree. And my
got the best marketing campaigns, bro. It's like this guy's everywhere. So like a meme coin of this guy, especially the original one, right? The original one, I don't see why not. I threw a few $100 at it and let us see where it goes. Obviously, there's not financial advice. No one here is telling you to go buy this meme coin. This is extremely high risk, right? Like all meme coins are. They all have a lifespan. They're all going to go to zero at some point. So do not go buy anything just based off these conversations here. Always do your own research. Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting. I mean, I like these little sessions, right? Getting ready for the rest of the week. See, and then next week we'll have a recap again of how this week played out. It's going to be interesting to see can July. I'm very interested to see if July can finally close green and keep that historical data going, or is the historical data going to go out the window, break? We're going to have a red month of July, and just lead us into potentially a lot lower price action into those 40s and 30s. A lot of people are targeting that now. A lot of people are taking a look at that now, which also concerns me, right? Once everybody starts looking in one direction, things can start going the opposite direction. But
what's good about those though is like, everybody highly targets. Like, so this, once again, I've been targeting this since 71,400, and I say targeting, not like just like 1,000%. I had to manage that whole move, right? Like there was a time where we hit 64K from 71, and I was like, all right, you got to take it as it comes, right? It still is not. I've always just been like, oh, we're definitely going down, but at 71,400. Even it was something where it's like, all right, they're like 43 and 35. Like the reason 35 is on the table is because that's this year's average of price, right? So it's far away as hell right now, and that's not like I honestly wouldn't even look to it if unless we make it through that range. And it's all about that first quarter range, right, that we've been sitting in, living in. And at this point, like it's not guaranteed, but it's likely, right, in the sense of data points that we seek out that point of control at 43K. And that's why I target that. Other people might have other reasons and whatever, but the thing is too is that when we get there, just like when we got to 54, the fear struck there, right? Like for me, that was an area where, hey, I took profit. I was able to, I wasn't able to catch a trade right there, unfortunately, because I was on a boat. But, on the 4th of July, but, I was able to, you and I caught that trade last week. I don't think we did it live, but right after we finished, it was, 55.8 up to 62.8, and now I'm prepared for the next move down. And if we do hit 43, I will have a strategy, and it's just like, unfortunately, most people that are saying, it's 43 and 43 and whatever, well, when we get there, and trust me when I say there's targets lower. So it's not like you can't just be like, oh, it's a blind area if we get there. Like it's like, oh, mega long. Yeah. But when we do get there, it's just going to be like any other time, right? Everybody's going to then target 20K. And then everybody's going to target back to the 16K lows. And trust me, if we go down to 40 something, it's going to be the scariest news around us.
Shitting their pants.
Yeah, it's going to be well. And then like imagine like what's going to take, like, because the hardest part to talk about price, like even right now, it's like what's going to take us there is the idea, right? What's going to take us down to 43K or 35K, and then when you get there, it's like what's going to bring us back to all-time highs. And simple outlook for me is that if I'm guessing straight speculation, just if I had to throw some news juice, is that we get something negative at some point, right? And honestly, it's the stock market. For me, it's the stock market pulling back. I don't know what'll cause it. And if that's the case, that's an easy just like response to why Bitcoin and crypto would pull back again. Why could we see a move from those lower areas? Maybe, I don't know, September-ish into Q4. Well, then you're going to get the rates get cut. And I'm just speculating, but everybody's kind of leaning on that, and whether or not that comes true or not, who knows? But when we do get something like that, that could be very well a catalyst. But preparing yourself along the way before those news events drop is the key. At least that's what we try to do daily, essentially. So, but yeah, I still foresee the market going, even if we go to $35,000 or 30,000 or whatever the case is, that's really not like, all it is a macro gold pocket retracement. Even if you just zoomed all the way out and looked at that, if you look at any other move in the chart, like that's a normalcy, right? So people will say the bull market is done and all this, and for me too, I kind of hate looking at the crypto market in this. Like, you don't look at the stock market and say the bull market is here, the bear market is here, right? You just get bullish trends, bearish trends. And I think that's how you have to start looking at the crypto market as well. You're going to have, 30, 40, 50% pullbacks in crypto, unfortunately, still is how it is. It's just such a small marketplace. Just like if we look at, the stock market.
They just seem slower now. Before, the 30-40% pullbacks were like instant, right? They were within days to a week, and let's say it was over. And then you're having a fast recovery once again. Now it feels like a long multi-month, right, half a year drag out to the upside, because we ran for like 7 to 8 months, right? We ran from October of last year all the way to like ending of March, just massive running to the upside, which felt great, right? Nobody complains about those 7 months, 8 months of just straight running. Now we've gotten multi-months of just dragging, right? Just dragging to the downside, not feeling like the bear market all over again. And I think it's going to be a very interesting shift of mindset if that is the way it plays out moving forward now, with institutions finally officially being here, that maybe we just don't get those volatile, quick recoveries to the upside or to the downside pullbacks anymore. And we just have these, like you said, bull market trend and a bear market trend, but no longer like, okay, it's the 4-year exact cycle. At this date, we're gonna go into the bear market. It's over. Come back a year later, then we'll come back up. I think we could be heading towards those kind of scenarios.
Yeah, and my one of my thesis on it, and I'm not trying to drag us too long, but my thesis on the housing market cycle, right? Like, and that's the one I like kind of pay most attention to. And yes, like if you look back so far, the crypto 4-year deal, has played out. If that's how you're gonna break it up. But to me, I just, I look at this, and especially now, I just feel like, in the sense, like, one of the few things that everybody likes to say, it's a multitude of things, right? But like the breaking the all-time high before the halving, all the things, like, in that sense, it's like, we've never seen that before, kind of deal, right? And that alone should be enough to just be like, all right, well, this is already different in a sense, if you're going to only be glued to that like 4-year deal. But for me, I'm looking at the 18 to 20-year housing market cycle that in theory started 2011, on this last little run up. When was Bitcoin and crypto really, born? 2009, right? And it's, really started hitting chart data by 2011. And in theory, I just think we're putting in the first, 18 to 20-year crypto cycle, right? In total, that potentially, tops, and I say tops, but potentially ends around like 2028, 2029. But I'm not saying we're just going to rip all the way through that time, and we never have ripped so far all the way through. But the ups and downs, in general, I think are kind of lining up for something like that. And then, maybe we get this huge, market-wide depression 2.0 in like 2029. But
2028, 2029 is very interesting. Like I said, we don't want to drag this out anymore, but definitely very interesting, right? It's going to be a brand new presidential election at that time, right? A whole new clean slate. Where is the world going to be globally, economically around that time, right? There's a lot of tension globally right now. And, by that time, with a new clean slate of a whole new president that we don't know who is going to be, right? There's not going to have this level of like following that we have right now. There's a lot of candidates potential out there. And that being said, could lead us to, just a whole new sector of setups.
Yeah.
The minute we started talking about presidents, I already learned more about the U.S. elections.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. And like, last thing I'll say on that, but yeah, so 2 years ago on 2022, June, actually, so over 2 years, you, me, and Keeper, we did a What If Wednesday on the channel you used to do. And it was when Bitcoin was, chilling at what? It had to be around 20K, 18K. It was on the 2022, decline. And we were just, and I brought up the whole housing market idea. And then Trump, right, at the time, and we might get booted off for mentioning some of this now, but which is a shame, dude. I can't even believe that we can't even talk about our like elected officials or whatever, anything like that in the US, which is funny. But So, anyways, yeah, like 2 years ago, mind you, at this time, we didn't see or hear about Trump at the time, right? He, as soon as the election was over 2020, there was a little bit of here and there for a few months, February timeframe, and then he disappeared into the sunset, went and played golf at Mar-a-Lago, and you just didn't hear about him, right? Like my wife, even at the time, I was like, I